Hey everybody, got a little webbot update. Looks like the stock market, or global markets for that matter, are going to be in for a nasty surprise here sometime later this year. Now, I'm quoting this from urbansurvival.com, which is George Ure's website, who is very good friends with Cliff High, the webbot owner. And I'm sure they have conversations about things that he does not put in his webbot report that only they probably know about, and for good reason. And I've seen a few things every now and then where you knew that was the case. But one of them being the whole event, HOLE, capital letters. It stands for something, has something to do with north of DC, I think, a riot or some kind of something that spreads. Don't quite know. But I'm going to read this one. This is word for word from his site here today, at least just this section anyways. I spent some time on the phone with Cliff High, whose predictive linguistics forecasts have another big market nosedive peaking out of computer model space later this year. And no, as a junior time monk, I'm sworn to secrecy until the June report comes out. But here are two morsels to munch with your Wheaties. First is the question of global financial contagion. In an internationally linked system of markets, which implies the possibility of massively correlated hypervolatility events, why would anyone plugged into the global markets think the US or Asian blocs could survive an utter meltdown of the EU pyramid scheme of more unelected layers of government than a birthday cake unscathed? Good point. Second, with more than 10% of Americans taking antidepressants, that's about 31 million, and now with even children under 6 reportedly drugged too now, we have two further problems to consider going forward. One is where we're already seeing good linguistic fill on the drug shortages topic for the webbot of earlier reports, with all kinds of headlines popping in, and he links to headlines of drug shortages right now, which is actually true. I did read the report. I remember hearing about the drug shortages. This is the start of it. And based on that information, I'm going to stop for a second. My father had a kidney transplant, I think around 3 or 4 years ago. He has to take medication now pretty much the rest of his life, and it's mostly like a blood thinner type of medication because they don't want his cells or whatever to attack the kidney, because it's a foreign object now, from someone else. So I guess the blood thinner stops that from happening. And I had told him after reading that report, by the way, webbot report, Dad, you need to probably stock up on as much of the medication that you need, more than you ever have before. And if you can go to your doctor and ask for like an extra prescription or just something, just to stock a little bit, stockpile some, you'll be ahead of the game in some things that are probably going to be happening. He goes, yeah, all right, that's a good idea. So he starts doing it, and he's been telling me, yeah, I've got a nice little several month out supply now, above and beyond what he needs. Just want to throw that out there, how the webbot has helped me again make a good decision. Back to this. Since there's no way in hell that 31 million adults plus who knows how many 6-year-olds can all go through treatment as a single cohort, you should be scared spitless of the potential outbursts of drug withdrawal violence that would logically accompany drug shortages when we run short of gulp antidepressants. Then there's the other problem. Is there some kind of flicker vertigo along in human consciousness that works in concert with serotonin reuptake inhibitors to modify normal consciousness? Problem I see is that good science, when pushing this drug or that, involves itself in single variable justifications. Actual drug for this group, placebo for that group. Results to the FDA, and after a few cursory glances back come keys to the printing press, and corporate drug money is made hand over fist. But don't you suppose that there's a whole range of environmental multivariates which ought to be studied too? Maybe in total isolation, SRIs work fine, but SRIs are used in the wild, so to speak, So where's the work on the combination of SRIs, flicker input to the visual cortex? He provides a link. And pushed along with pulsed RF from, oh, let me see, cell phones? There is none. At least at least not any I've seen. And then he's got someone quoting, George, there's no mass riding of helicopters, so stop whining about flicker vertigo. Right. You ever look at the refresh rate of a full 1080 HD screen? Remember the Japanese kids who were sickened in 3D game testing? You missed the 3D game warnings now. Or do you miss the 3D game warnings now? Now toss in SRIs to the mix and tell me there's not a pile-on effect, just like drugs used in combination can have devastating effects. Meaning, right in front of us, a cleaving of the mass consciousness may be underway. But don't worry about it. It will stay a matter of informed speculation, since it will never be tested in clean research or report, because there's just too much damn money involved. Industry's got too much of an interest in keeping you in a pill health. And besides, if the second consciousness group are still buying their doggy downers, making momentum trades, pouring money into their not yet confiscated 401ks, what's the issue? Well, except for the markets acting even more irrational than usual, I suppose there is none. As a bewildered bear, it sure explains the developing gap between aware, undrugged, unplugged, and the over-connected, doped-up screen monkeys who just might be the fill set for linguistic predictions of drooling masses later on when drug supply chains dry up and global events get to more chaotic. Think of the future as the next level up from shock and awe. So, just wanted to read that. It's a pretty good thing he wrote today. And the drooling masses, I remember that coming in, like people standing around, you know, like just in bozo land. And again, I try to put my mind, what could I see based off of events right now or whatever in the future that would call drooling masses to just stand there and whatever. Didn't make any sense, and I didn't have an answer. I never really talked about it because I have no freaking idea. But now that makes sense. Drug shortages of antidepressants, all kinds of other drugs that keep people nice and calm and friendly and whatever, start walking around like zombies and drooling and whatever, going down from their drug high. You know, when you take someone off drugs, they go through that period of time where their body is just not having any of it, not liking it, going through what they call withdrawals. And it's not just, you know, when you think of the word withdrawals, it's just like, oh yeah, man, I like eating pizza all the time. I'm having withdrawals of not eating pizza because I haven't eaten any in 2 weeks. That's not withdrawals. That's what you may think of when you use the word withdrawals. But when you're talking about drug withdrawals, oh no, no, no. It is not the same as having like, oh, I crave pizza and I haven't had it in 2 weeks, so I'm having withdrawals, I'm gonna go get some. No. Drug withdrawals are not necessarily painful, but maybe emotionally and psychologically painful to the person dealing with it at that moment, which can last days and days and days and even weeks till they finally clean out, so to speak, somewhat, and that withdrawal period at least starts to go away, and they can, I guess, somewhat get a life back together, you know, but most of them go back to using the drugs. But we're not talking necessarily about, you know, cocaine and meth and that kind of thing. We're talking about prescription drugs, which is the same thing. It's just prescribed, you know, in essence, you know, to treat certain symptoms. It never cures anything, it just treats them. So now you've been needing this drug to get your high or whatever the hell, get rid of the symptom, and now it's going away, and you're having withdrawals just the same as someone who's doing cocaine or meth or something else. Same thing, because that's a drug, and so is what you're taking as a prescription is also a drug. So that would definitely make a lot of sense for people to be standing around, you know, the drooling masses headline or whatever of the Webbot report. That would definitely make sense, and I never would have thought of it in a million years. That's why it's important to see some of the events as things unfold. Go back and read some of the Webbot reports, and then you may see something that you just kind of read over and like, oh, that's interesting, but you couldn't make anything of it. And then you reread that and you're like, oh my God, that's happening right now. That's what he was talking about. Whereas other times, it's clear as day in the Webbot report, you know what he's talking about in the future. Death of the dollar, gold and silver skyrocketing. You don't have to wait for that to happen to say, oh, that's what he meant. Yeah, that was already clear when he made the first report on it, you know. But that's just the nature of the beast with the Webbot report. You take it or you leave it. It makes sense sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. it's a invaluable tool for me. As I said, I've started buying silver because of it, and I'm very thankful now because I made a ton of money. If I was to sell now, which I'm not, I'm going to make a lot more money when I do sell. And then the other thing is being able to tell my father, start stocking up on medications that you need, that are critical for you, that in some kind of emergency or some kind of situation, maybe for months at a time, you won't be able to get any. He goes, yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. I don't know if I even told him, oh, the webbot said so. I might have, because I do tell him many times, oh, look, check out what the webbot said recently or whatever. But nonetheless, he did do it. And now he's got his little stash going on of prescription medicine for his kidney that he needs. And hopefully that would be the best advice he's ever gotten from me. Aside from buying silver as well, because he's been doing that too, and we're both very happy. So anyways, gotta run. And thank God this video wasn't another huge long one. Have a nice day.